Hi friends, it's Tuesday, June 7th. We had our Pima County Board of Supervisors meeting today. It started at 9 and ended at 2. It was a little longer. We had some really substantive conversations about really important issues. First off, I want to thank Anthony Francisco Jr. for reading the land acknowledgement and joining the board meeting for that. We really appreciate that. And I also want to thank Maribel McCorkle and Dr. Maribel McCorkle and Dr. June Webb-Vigneri for coming and honoring the Pima County Board of Supervisors with the Crystal Apple for Education Advocacy. I'm so excited about that because I know how meaningful that Crystal Apple Award is. And the education advocacy and the reason why the board was approved, was awarded this is because we kept our children safe during the pandemic. So I'm really proud of that. So thank you to my very good friend, Dr. McCorkle, and to June Webb-Vigneri. We had an EPoll Book demonstration. Our elections director, Constance Hargrove, came and it was successful. They actually used Supervisor Christie's ID, printed out his ballot from the previous election. I think it all went well. We have all of the EPoll books we need. We are expecting the printers to come sometime mid this month or the end of this month. And according to our elections director, everything should go off according to plan. They are double checking all of the internet connectivity. And then just so we're all assured, if there is an issue, we will still have printed ballots. And so this is I'm very excited about what the potential is for these voting centers. So I'm excited about that. And I'm glad that we had a public run through of what it would look like. Everything was online and live. And so had something gone wrong, it would have happened live. We had a lot of naysayers in the gallery. And I was really glad to see that Supervisor Christie's ballot came out perfect. Everything was fine. The Joint Task Force to Address Poverty, that was something brought forward by my colleague, Dr. Hines, and that item was pushed back because there's a lot of merit to that, and the city voted to join Pima County in a task force. The biggest issue that was brought up is that there aren't any real metrics or objectives for this task force. Like, what are we going to do in order to make sure that we're addressing poverty? Because this is an issue that is ongoing, continues to change. The communities that are affected continues to change. The one area that scared me the most, and I'm sure members of the community that were tuning in, is that our children are impacted really greatly in Pima County, and that's something that we really have to look at. So it's not that the merit of what we want to do, it's like who's going to be involved in it and who's going to kind of lead that charge. Pima County employee cost of living adjustments, raises essentially. What we looked at is there were several different scenarios that were brought forward. County Administrator Lesher brought forward one, then Dr. Hines brought forward A and also brought a B scenario forward. I brought a scenario forward, and then Supervisor Scott did as well. And so we want to make sure that we're making informed decisions about how we address this cost of living. It is something that, we understand, I understand that everything is costing more, and to have sort of a flat increase is not helpful to everyone. With my scenario, I was really trying to target employees in Pima County that are making under $35,000 and giving them a little bit more of a bump and then graduate it to the other areas. The one thing that I think is of note is the people in our county that are making the most. With every scenario, we're making a 1% increase, which is still by percentage a lot. So we're looking at compensation packages that are going to cost anywhere from $18.5 million, almost $19 million, to almost $27 million. And so the difference is pretty huge, and we will have a better discussion and all of the data at our next board meeting on June 21st. And then what that does is push back the final budget adoption to our July 5th meeting. So option to fund open space and affordable housing. And so I'm very excited. This is an item that was brought forward by our office, and it set aside $2 million for the purchase of open space and $5 million for affordable housing task force recommendations. And so the great thing about this is that having these line items established in our budget makes us eligible for federal and state funds that we wouldn't be as attractive a candidate if we didn't have those line items. And also, it's not saying that we're going to expend all of that money. It's just saying that it's going to be there in case there is an opportunity to purchase private lands that will better protect conservation efforts in Pima County, and also the importance of ensuring more affordable housing for our community. So I'm very excited about both of those. We're very proud of the work there, and that item passed 4-1. So, and really what I thought was interesting is that Supervisor Christie's opposition to that item had to do with the fact that he didn't think Pima County had any role in affordable housing, but we do. Since the early 90s we have. So there was the resolution opposing Copper World project. That item passed 4-1. And so I was glad to see Gail Harmon came and spoke to the board. And I just thought that it was really important for us to have that conversation about what the damage is. And it's, once the damage is done, we cannot correct it. And so it was important. And I also want to thank Stu Williams, the executive director for Save the Santa Ritas, for coming and speaking. We also had a lot of speakers about moms demand action, and so I appreciate them coming, as well as Molly McCassin. I just wanted to throw that in there. So the resolution opposing Copper World project passed 4-1. And so I'm really glad for that. And that what it's going to do is get our county administrator and staff working together to make sure that the information that we collect about the negative impacts to our community are going to be shared at the local, state, and federal levels. And so that's something that is really problematic for our community, and the damage to the Santa Ritas is already happening. We'll go ahead and add this graphic, but if you can see the picture here, you can see where the trenches are already being built. And this is just the beginning of the devastation in the area. So the Small Business Commission came forward with the support of Supervisor Christie with a proposal to create a task force for COVID response. And what it was is it's COVID Pandemic Response Task Force. And what they wanted is they wanted $775,000 to create a task force to collect information about the effects of COVID, and really probably closures, but on mental health, on business, on our K-12 system, higher education, and nonprofits and others. And I do think that there's merit in getting the information because knowledge is power. But one of the concerns that I had is they kept talking about this need to have an independent committee. And the Small Business Commission is supposed to inform Pima County. And so it made it seem very adversarial where it didn't need to be. I do think that there are areas that we all can acknowledge that there were mistakes made, but that's early in the pandemic when you're trying to figure out what to do to keep your community safe. That's what happened. And so we have to learn from it. We have to also improve some efforts in other areas, when to, kind of pull the trigger earlier. All of that I think has merit, but to have an independent task force come up with that data concerns me a bit. We had an item about election workers and lifting the recommendations for election workers and the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. What concerned me is, I want to make sure that we have our voting centers up and running at every location that we've already approved, and we are short Republican poll workers, and you have to make sure you have a balance of all the parties represented. We didn't have that, and we don't have that. And so this was our county administrator's reaction to trying to solve that problem. My concern is one of the things that were lifted is the requirement to bring proof of a negative COVID test. That was just lifted. And the other was a $50 stipend to be offered to vaccinated election workers for whom the county can validate vaccination status. And so I was opposed to both of those. The item did pass though, 3-1. Supervisor Hines at that point wasn't on the call, but I'm assuming he probably would have voted with me and the item still would have passed. I do want to thank everyone for donating to the Period Poverty Awareness donation drive. We exceeded last year's donations, which I'm really excited about. And our next board meeting is going to be on the 21st. So thank you to all the community for continuing to pay attention to Pima County politics. It's going to be a hot one out there. Our COVID numbers are climbing a little bit, so stay safe, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.